Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a lively crowd. Make some noise for Harry Potter. Are you enjoying yourself at a celebration of Harry Potter 2018? That's what we love to hear. Each year during this weekend, fans gather to share their adoration and excitement for J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. You travel both near and far to join us in this jubilation. In the same manner, Harry Potter, the exhibition, travels around the globe to bring joy to fans worldwide. The exhibition is home to many fantastic props and creatures, but today we're here to discuss the magic behind some of the Harry Potter films' most spectacular costumes with a couple of very special guests. So please join me in welcoming Johnny Tamim and Eddie Newquist to the stage. Hello, hello, yes, it's like a serpentine, please. Right on this way. A Slytherin, a serpentine. Any Slytherins out there? Wow. All right, had to mention it. Eddie, how are you, sir?
Great, how are you?
Very good. Why don't you, if you would, introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, hi everybody. My name is Eddie Newquist. I'm one of the creators of Harry Potter the Exhibition. And thank you for being here. Hopefully you'll really enjoy this panel.
Very nice.
I'm Johnny Tamim, and I was the costume designer of the Harry Potter film, starting with Prisoner of Azkaban till the end.
All right, thank you so much. Now, before we dive into these, yes, absolutely. Before we dive into the costumes, Eddie, can you tell us a little bit about the exhibition for maybe those who are experiencing it or hearing about it for the first time?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, the exhibitions, it's a touring experience, and it takes the magic of the films to fans in their hometowns, really all over the world. It's traveled to 17 cities in 11 countries, so we've been on the road quite a bit, and we've welcomed close to about 4 million fans already. So it's been a big success, and we have thousands of props and costumes on display, and creatures as well, and they travel with us from city to city. So our next stop, our 18th stop, is in Milan, Italy, and it's really an honor to be going to Milan. It's such a great, place for fashion and design. And we'll be really celebrating the Harry Potter costumes, obviously, there. So I'm hardly an expert on the costumes, necessarily, because we work, across all the elements of the exhibition, so it's so wonderful to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eddie. Now let's watch a few of our favorite stars tell us about the exhibition themselves. Watch the screen.
Behind that brick wall, we are in Hogwarts.
I think if anyone's a real Harry Potter nut, it'll be an amazing experience.
It's not just props in cases. They make create a really good atmosphere.
When the fans get inside here, they'll see what we've been able to take for granted for the last 10 years.
Inside is a treasure trove of Harry Potter items, props, costumes, creatures.
I mean, I got to see Hagrid's hut, and you get to see the Quidditch and the costumes that we wore.
And it's all laid out really well. So you go from 1 minute and it's all Quidditch gear. The next part you see is it's all the animals.
You can get close enough to see, real detail. There's so much of it, and so much of it's really well made.
The craftsmanship and the artistry that went into making of Harry Potter is fantastic, and I'm really glad finally that it's celebrated.
It's so well presented in there as well. It's not just a few things in some cases. It's actually all-encompassing and very atmospheric.
These movies have touched so many people, and sometimes you want to feel like you could be part of that world, and this really allows you to be part of it.
When you see the props and everything in the flesh, it's more of an idea that, this is a world that really did exist. There's just so much of our life there, and it makes you realise this is a historical thing.
What do you think? Awesome. So, Jenny, we saw some of your brilliant work in that piece, and we've got a few more pieces with here, not only on stage, but we've got some creativity in the audience as well. If you're wearing a costume, please stand up. Go ahead. Everybody
We gotta
up. If
see
you're wearing a
me.
costume, check it out.
Wow.
Let's give all these folks a big round of applause. Oddly enough,
Awesome.
I didn't
Really
even
good.
see you. So, what's it like to have your work live on in so many years after the films have wrapped and bringing Harry Potter's wonderful world to life, Jen?
It's truly beautiful. It's very emotional to see these pieces again. But also, I have never forgotten or really gotten too far from Harry's world. I have many fans that I speak to via social media, and actually, I'm still very connected with my work for Harry Potter.
Nice. How did you come to design for the films? What was that process like?
Alfonso Cuarón, who was the director of Prisoner of Azkaban, had seen my work and he wanted to work with me, and I wanted to work with him. So he asked me to do Harry Potter, and it was for me a dream come true. I was a fan, I'm still a fan, and I had read the books, I loved them, and that began a decade of work that I am so proud of, and brought me here with you all today.
Yes, can't wait to start talking about these different pieces. So, Eddie, do you have a favorite costume?
It's hard to pinpoint a favorite. In the exhibition, we're surrounded by literally hundreds of different costumes and props. But I have to say, I've always really liked Bellatrix's costume. I just always thought it was really, really kind of cool and chic, and so it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Bellatrix was maybe my favorite to design for. It's either her or Voldemort. I like badges.
Yeah. You like baddies?
I do.
Okay, all right.
They're very exciting to design. The first costume of Bellatrix was designed when she just got out of Azkaban. So I thought that she had that old, dirty dress, which was 10 years ago, because she spent even more than 10 years in Azkaban. So it had to be very damaged and very dirty. And Bellatrix was a very violent person. It's a woman who really wants the description of Harry. She is determined, she is intense, so I wanted her in a sort of old chic rag.
That sentiment definitely comes through. I mean, later films, her clothes are still sort of slightly unhinged. It's almost as if she's getting a little crazier and crazier, right, in the films, and her costumes seem to kind of reflect that.
She does. That costume is from the final two films. Oh, it's not here.
Oh yeah, it's the one that we have in the expo.
It's the one you have in the exposition. And it has a medieval sort of look, as she is a very traditional witch. She had a traditional look, as she will refuse anything which is modern. With Bellatrix, her costume may change, but her nature remains. She's always fighting the world. So I use leather and a leather corset. And I remember that the corset was never too tight, because Helena Bonham Carter wanted to feel the power, the craziness, and she likes the corset. She does.
Scotty, I think I saw you trying it on over at the expo hall, at least trying to.
What happened to the hashtag keep the secrets? Actually, it was fitted, and I did feel like the tighter it got, the more angrier I became. So it did work.
Yeah, okay.
I was very upset. Thank you for helping me relive that moment.
Well, we were talking about the expo hall, another bad guy whose costume is always really cool is Lucius Malfoy. I mean, there's a certain amount of elegance there, and that's on display in the expo hall. And it's really, very classic. So where did you come up with that as opposed to, some of the other characters?
My inspiration for Lucius is quite similar to that of Bellatrix. The two of them are very traditional, old-fashioned, conservative, so I dressed them very noble and wanted to express their traditional values. Their costumes are more what you would expect from a traditional wizard. They don't want to accept the modern world. They wanted to conserve their value, and that's why I dressed them with those long robe, elegant. In the case of Lucius Malfoy, more elegant than Bellatrix.
I'll just point something out. If you get a chance to see them in the expo hall, you can see the serpentines that you've got, for some of his pins, on his lapel, and the cane is amazing. You can see it in the image here. It's really a wicked cane. That's very cool.
So we discussed a couple of the costumes that are on display. Let's talk about some of the costumes that we have here with us today. First up, of course, front and center is the Beauxbatons uniform.
We've got a couple in the audience.
Yes, we do.
To be over here, yeah.
Very nice.
The costume of the Beauxbatons is something that I really love very much because I'm French and I wanted them to look French and to feel French and to be completely out of that world in Scotland. You know, Scotland is cold, and then they are arriving in their little dresses and being so out of touch. And I think that the worst thing for a French girl is to be under the rain in Scotland. And that's what I wanted to express. And also, I wanted to make them looking very sexy, that when they arrive and the boys are looking at them, they don't know what they are looking at.
Yeah, Ron's expression, I think, is pretty spectacular when they arrive. That's a very elegant and beautiful entrance.
Yes.
Very nice as well. So let's talk about, as we move forward through these, tell us about kind of the finishing touches with the hat.
I designed the hat to keep in touch with the traditional witch hat. It has a point, but I wanted something a little bit feminine as well. So I asked Philippe Tracy, who is one of the best hat maker in the world, and I showed him my design, and with his help, we created it. The volume is very important, and you need to feel the weight and the elegance, and collaborating with Philippe make it possible. It's incredible hat.
Well, and you know, we've been walking around the theme park the last couple of days, and obviously we've got some great costumes here as well. How do you feel when you see people wearing these costumes that you originally designed, and that these things came out of your imagination? How does that make you feel?
I'm very touched because I think that it has been, I mean, like, you know, like the little Beauxbaton there, you have been putting lots of work in your costume, and then, you know, I really appreciate you did a good job. It's nice.
Very nice. Let's give these three a big round of applause. Well done.
Well done.
Well done. How long did it take you to put the costumes together? You don't even know. You're just in a whirlwind of Harry Potter-ness. Just forgetting time and space. They look fantastic. So, of course, the Beauxbatons, wonderful costume. Opposite extreme, let's talk about Rita Skeeter's costume.
Rita Skeeter, I wanted to give her a color that was almost unbearable for the viewer. I wanted it to be something, because she's loud, I wanted it to be something that you see from very far away. And it's supposed to be elegant, but it is not really elegant, although she does her best. I wanted something shocking that you never forget.
Yeah, that is really, when you see it up close, obviously, you really succeeded. It is quite shocking, so that's a great color.
But she's shocking.
Yeah, she is.
So next up is a character who has, you know, it's got one of my favorite lines in the film. We're talking about Kingsley Shacklebolt.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Let's take a look at a clip.
Professor, he had nothing to do with it. It was me.
Most noble of you, Harry, to shield me. But as has been pointed out, the parchment clearly says Dumbledore's army, not Potter's. I instructed Harry to form this organization, and I alone am responsible for its activity.
Dispatch an owl to the Daily Prophet. If we hurry, we should still make the morning edition. Dorish, Shacklebolt, you will escort Dumbledore to Azkaban, to await trial for conspiracy and sedition.
I thought we might hit this little snag. You seem to be laboring under the delusion that I'm going to, what was the phrase? Come quietly. Well, I can tell you this. I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Take him!
You may not like him, Minister, but you can't deny Dumbledore's got style.
That was awesome. You know, Eddie, in several years ago, he was actually on the panel, and he said the line. And you know, when you look at him in the whole movie, he always looks like he's just hanging out. right? So when he comes in, he did the line. It was like absolutely perfect. He was just like, and then delivered it, and the whole place went absolutely nuts. It was exactly just like that. It's such a memorable scene.
It is a great line, and it's. I was wondering, the blues and the purples. That's not a common sort of combination, in Hogwarts. And I had a chance to spend some time in Africa this past year, and I noticed, that his costume represents sort of this, very regal sort of feel. So can you talk a little bit about where the inspiration came for that?
It was inspired by the costume of an African king. I wanted some African symbolism, and it had to be wizarding. So I decided to use an agbada, which is a Nigerian ceremonial gown, but the robe of Kingsley that he wears are embellished with beads, with applique, with embroidery. They are inspired by African motif, like the piping around. And his beads, he came for the fitting with his beads, which are his own. And after that, we had to look for more because we needed to make 10 or 15 costumes. So we really had to work really hard to find the same beads that the one that he was wearing.
Yeah, that's so interesting because you look at the costumes. It really helps bring the characters to life, which I'm sure is part of your effort and your desire. So, are there other characters that you can look at and say, oh, I can kind of recognize their heritage or their family tree or where they came from?
Yes, Sirius Black.
Okay.
Sirius Black. I remember also the first costume that I did for him. It was for number third for the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I had a conference call with Gary Oldman, and he was telling me, and I showed him the design, and he said, "Oh, thank you to not put me in a beautiful gown. Thank you to put me in a prison outfit because that's how I want to play it." And the prison outfit was very strong. So after, when he comes out of prison, and I could dress him nicely, for the next film. And he was the one that you see here is a Christmas at Greenwald Place for the fifth film. The green jacket, he loved this green jacket, and it is a beautiful velour, but it's worn and faded because the character is old glory, old money. So I wanted to show that by making it old and damaged.
I think I know what I want to wear to Celebration next year.
It will fit you very
Well,
Can you hook me up, Jenny?
I can try.
I think I already have dibs on that one, though.
No, we're gonna hold off Bellatrix's for you for next year. I think we've decided that already.
I'll be honest with you, I'll do it.
Would anybody like to see that? I think I would.
All right. Thank goodness there's no such thing as social media. All right, that brings us to the costumes for Bill and Fleur's wedding. So here are the costumes for Harry, Ron, and Hermione. So tell us a little bit about those.
The final films are so dark, and the wedding is the beginning of the really dark time. For me, it was the last opportunity to have something light and warm and funny, and the last light on before all the darkness. So they are embracing life, it's a wedding. So especially when you know that you are going to lose your life, you really appreciate the moment that you are living in. That was my approach to the wedding, and that everybody was trying to be the most beautiful and do their maximum.
So tell us a bit about your design specifically for Harry, Ron, and Hermione at the wedding.
For Hermione's dress, I wanted a dress which was a little bit of a dream. And I look at it and I still think it's a very beautiful dress. And I wanted a strong color, but because a strong color is also sort of tragic. And I wanted something that every girl would love of wearing. Ron is always wearing strange things. He tries hard. He is always trying to wear Muggle fashion, but he cannot because his mom is always sewing for him, and then for his suit, I just wanted to keep the same sort of mistake. So you can see that the lapel are too big and the button too small. It's just wrong. Harry, on the contrary, he always looks very put together because he lived in the Muggle world for a long time, so he understands the fashion of it.
That's great. You know, we're displaying a few of the other wedding costumes this weekend at our booth in the expo hall. We've got Fred and George and Ginny's. I did notice all the sparkles on the twins costumes. If you get a chance to look closely, it's all embedded. Was that part of, you know, kind of trying to make them a little flashier or cooler?
Yeah. When designing for Fred and George, I always kept in mind that they have tests and they have a certain flair. It was a bit too easy to dress them the same, so I tried to get them in sort of complementary color. So they look alike from far away, but when you see them, it's two print of different color, two different details, and that makes it more interesting. So for their wedding costumes, like with Ron, they try to dress like Muggles, but with their own wizard values, which is a little bit strange, of course, but they do look stylish.
And the final Weasley child, tell us about Ginny.
Ginny. Ginny was a bridesmaid at the wedding, so I wanted the bridesmaid dress to look like something that her mom might have done, you know, with the old curtain or the lamp. But it came out quite beautiful.
Harry seemed pretty happy with it as well. I have to say.
But I definitively wanted to give it a second-hand look.
Yeah, he looks in this film like he's like, hey, nice curtain.
Zip it up.
So we've got
Luna's costume.
Right.
That's one of the other ones that we have on display, and that's, you know, I love her as a character, and it's an amazing costume. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you have that one on display because I'm really fond of it. Luna is an incredible character. For Slogan Party, I designed a dress so that she could look like a Christmas tree. She was all glittering. She arrived and it was Christmas. Ivana loved her costume very much, and she was her character. And I mean, do you remember that incredible lion's head?
Oh, the lion's head. Yeah,
she made it with us.
She did. She helped make it.
She was very involved. I said to her, "You are a fan. You like Ron. So the next Quidditch match, I want you to have a lion mask." And she said, "Okay." And she started making it with me. She was spending a lot of time in the costume department. She loves costume.
A couple of years ago, and I'm sure there's probably some out in the park, but we've seen some fans make them, and they're really outstanding. Really outstanding.
Yeah, the lion head is pretty incredible. And speaking of incredible, the coat that Tonks wears is also pretty incredible. We just had her with us a couple moments ago, but tell us about this coat.
Tonks is a warrior, an aura, so that's what she has to wear. I had to give her something exciting and almost military. She's on a mission, and that's what I wanted to show. The coat is military, but with a wizarding twist. The pocket, the collar, you know, always the points.
Yeah, oh, it's great.
Yes, it really is. So now we're running close to our time, but we have to discuss the Yule Ball costumes.
Designing the costume for the Yule Ball was a treat. The pieces like Hermione's dress, Ron Hedges' dress robe, iconic in their own right. For Hermione's dress, it was quite difficult to design because I didn't want her to look like she borrowed a dress from her mom or her sister or whatever. It was a Sweet 16 dress and it was pink. Here, people started to look at her as being a girl, and a very pretty girl, and not anymore the best of the class. So that was not established before. Ron's robes were quite the opposite. They are supposed to be the robes of his auntie, and obviously an auntie with bad taste. And then when I saw it on him, I tried to give him some romanticism. So I put the shirt with the little
with the
ruffle, and then I thought, poor guy. But
he wore it well.
He wore it brilliantly, and he's such a sport, you know, because he was always a wonderful character, wearing the most horrendous clothes and looking so fantastic in it.
Yeah, and we've displayed those costumes before, and they're a huge hit in the exhibition wherever we go. But the other one that we have on display over at the Expo Hall is Victor Crumb, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And he's such a great actor. He's such a great character anyway. So can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for that costume?
Yes, I felt that they should have military look, and since Armstrong was in a cold climate, I found myself drawn to the uniform of the Austrian hussars from the 19th century. And I added the cape to make it masculine and romantic, of course, but also because I saw the choreography with the valse, and I thought that they will turn and the cape will turn, and that would make it also wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. That's really wonderful.
Yes, so unfortunately we are out of time, but if you want a chance to see all of the gorgeous costumes on display, be sure to enter for a chance to win a trip to the exhibition opening in Milan in the Harry Potter the Exhibition booth in the Expo Hall.
Yeah, and we're so thrilled. Harry Potter and the Exhibition is so thrilled to bring the sweepstakes to you. So hopefully you've all registered for it. We're going to be drawing that later on this afternoon. So good luck if you've had a chance to participate. And I did want to let you know that Jenny and I will walk down along the barricade here. If you'd like to come and say hello, we'll do that immediately right after this. And one other thing, I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's worked on the exhibition. We've had a large crew, a worldwide crew, and they've really made it special, for the last almost 10 years of touring. So, thank you so much, Jenny, for all of your amazing costumes. It really brings the exhibition home.
Yes, thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Eddie. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thanks,
thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. As we said, Jenny will be here for just a couple of moments with Eddie. If you'd like to come down and say hello, they will meet and greet you and talk to you a little bit about their industry up close and personal. So thank you so much.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Scotty.
the rest of your day.
Hey, and hasn't Scotty done a great job this weekend? Little applause for Scotty.